This is the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka. Construction of this port began in 2008 with fundings from the Chinese Exim Bank. An estimated 36,000 ships pass through the route annually, making it one of the busiest shipping route in the world. But by 2012, the port drew only 34 ships annually. And Sri Lanka was in the middle of an economic crisis. Under heavy financial pressure and fear of defaulting on loans, Sri Lanka leased the port to a Chinese state-controlled firm. But the US claims that this is part of a debt trap diplomacy, a Chinese plan to entrap countries in debt and then use it to seize their assets. But is there enough evidence to support it? In 1998, China's loan credit stood at almost zero. Cut to 2018 and the figure stands at a massive 1.6 trillion US dollars. In 2013, China launched its Belt and Road Initiative, and since then there has been a massive increase in Chinese lending abroad. What were these loans for? A range of infrastructure projects without immediate returns, like energy projects in Pakistan, dams in Myanmar, to ports in Sri Lanka and railway lines in Africa. This lending spree has transformed China into the largest official creditor, surpassing the IMF and the World Bank. But with all this lending, partner countries have seen a rise in debt levels. According to a recent study, the public debt exposure of 42 countries to China exceeds 10% of their GDP. Is China the only lender in these countries? And is there a debt trap, which according to those supporting the theory led to China taking control of stressed assets? In a recent interview, the Sri Lankan ambassador has refuted claims that the country is in a debt trap. As of April 2021, Sri Lanka's total outstanding debt was 35.1 billion US dollars. China, however, accounted for only 10% of it. Another country in a similar position is the East African country of Zambia. Zambia is dealing with a debt burden of 32 billion. Here too, Chinese lending was cited as triggering the crisis. But Chinese debt amounted to only 5.7 billion or 18% of Zambia's total debt. In both cases, Chinese debt appeared to be more the symptom than cause of the crisis. Both countries suffered due to bad economic policies that led governments to seek short-term fixes or pride projects they could not afford. They turned to China because they could not find loans at similar terms elsewhere, and Chinese lending worsened their crisis, but was not the primary cause of it. But what about Hambantota, that China seized control? The debt trap theory suggests lending is a pretext for China to seize overseas assets. But in reality, that has proved impossible. A recent research shows Chinese bank has never actually seized an asset from any country, much less the port of Hambantota. In fact, Chinese financial institutions have ended up losing money and are restructuring loans to get back what they can. Research also says in most cases, countries like Sri Lanka and Zambia actively sought out loans from China. They turned to China because its terms were more favorable than other Western institutions. China has continued to deny the working of any debt trap policy. It is in fact reducing its lending under the ambitious Belt and Road Initiative. That means little for countries already dealing with worsening debt exposures. And many of them say the reason why they turned to China to begin with is because few others stepped in. Debt trap fear aside, until that changes, Chinese lending may well be here to stay.